You know, one of the biggest things that holds people back is not what they eat in large amounts, but what slips in unnoticed. I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone proudly say, "I'm strict keto," and yet their progress is stalled. When we look closer, it's those hidden carbs sneaking in. A small amount of ketchup here, a drizzle of salad dressing there, or even something marketed as keto-friendly, but loaded with sugar alcohols that still trigger insulin. It adds up. The body doesn't measure food labels, it measures insulin response. And the truth is, even a few grams of carbs at the wrong time can flip the switch, pulling you out of fat burning without you realizing it. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open. You're putting in all this effort, but the results keep leaking away. The danger is not in the obvious bread or pasta you've already given up. It's in the quiet little details, the sauces, the condiments, the so-called healthy snacks that whisper low carb but shout insulin spike to your body, and that one mistake is enough to stall everything. Another thing that quietly blocks fat burning is the habit of snacking, even if it's on so-called keto foods. People often think, well, it's just a handful of almonds, or a little piece of cheese won't hurt. But here's what really happens. Every time you eat, no matter how small, you trigger insulin. And insulin is the gatekeeper. It determines whether your body burns fat or stores fat. So if you're constantly grazing, your body never gets the signal to switch fully into fat burning mode. It's like trying to run a marathon but stopping every few steps to tie your shoes. You never build up the momentum. Keto isn't about how many times you can fit butter or cream into your day. It's about giving your body long breaks from food so insulin can drop low enough for fat to actually be released. The truth is, you don't lose weight from eating keto snacks all day. You lose weight in the hours when you're not eating at all. And this brings us to something most people underestimate: the power of fasting with keto. You see, keto by itself lowers carbs, yes, but the real magic happens when you combine it with intermittent fasting. Think about it. Your body stores glycogen, that backup sugar fuel, in your liver and muscles. As long as glycogen is there, your body will keep reaching for it instead of tapping into your fat reserves. Now, when you extend the time between meals, when you give your body those longer gaps without food, you drain those glycogen stores. That's when your system is forced to flip the switch and start burning fat as its primary fuel. If you're eating keto meals but you're still having them every few hours, you never allow your body to cross that threshold. Fasting is like the accelerator. It pushes you deeper into fat burning faster. And once your body gets comfortable with it, you'll notice something powerful. Hunger fades, cravings vanish, and your energy becomes steady. Because now you're not relying on short bursts of sugar. You're running on a clean, endless supply of fat fuel. But here's where a lot of people go wrong. They think as long as they're not eating carbs, they can load up on as much protein as they want. And this is a huge mistake, because protein in excess doesn't just sit there. It can actually convert into sugar through a process called gluconeogenesis. Your body is smart. If you give it too much protein, it says, "All right, let's turn this into glucose." And once again, insulin rises. And the moment insulin rises, fat burning shuts down. Most people don't realize that keto isn't high protein, it's moderate protein. That balance is critical. Your body only needs enough protein to repair tissues, support your muscles, and keep your metabolism healthy. Beyond that, you're not feeding your muscles, you're feeding your insulin. So when you see people stuck, even though they're eating clean keto, it's often because their protein portions are just too big. Keto works when you control carbs, yes, but it works even better when you respect the right ratio of fat to protein, so your body stays in fat burning mode without constantly being pulled back in sugar burning, and even if you're eating the perfect keto foods, there's something else that can completely block your progress: stress. Most people don't realize that stress has the power to act like sugar in the body. When you're under pressure, when you're not sleeping well, when your mind is constantly racing, your body releases cortisol. And cortisol's job is to raise blood sugar. It's a survival mechanism. Your body thinks you need fuel to fight or run, so it pumps out glucose. But here's the problem: if your blood sugar rises, insulin rises too, and fat burning comes to a halt. So you might be strict with your diet, but if your lifestyle is filled with stress, your results will stall. This is why sleep, relaxation, and recovery are not optional, they're part of the program. Keto is not just about what you put in your mouth, it's about the entire environment you create for your body. Because no matter how clean you eat, if your hormones are working against you, fat loss becomes almost impossible. And another roadblock that sneaks up on people is dairy. Now, don't get me wrong, cheese, cream, and butter can all fit into keto, but for many people, they become a hidden trap. Here's why: dairy has a way of stimulating insulin more than you'd expect, especially cheese and milk proteins. And on top of that, it's calorie dense, so it's very easy to overdo without realizing it. A little cheese sprinkled here, a splash of cream there, and suddenly you've added hundreds of calories and triggered enough insulin to stall fat burning. And for some people, dairy even creates cravings, making it harder to stay in control. Keto is supposed to simplify eating, to quiet down hunger, but when dairy keeps pulling you back for just one more bite, it works against you. So while dairy can be a tool, it can also become one of the biggest obstacles. Sometimes just cutting back, or even removing it temporarily, is all it takes for weight loss to restart. A mistake I see all the time, and it's one that seems so harmless at first, is eating when you're not actually hungry. This is one of those silent weight loss killers, because people bring their old patterns into a new lifestyle and they don't even realize it. Think about it. For most of your life, you've been conditioned to eat on a schedule, not on signals from your body. Breakfast at 8 because that's what we were told in school, lunch at 1 because that's the break time, dinner at 7 because that's family tradition, and maybe a snack or two in between just because it's what we're used to. None of that is about true hunger. It's about habit, culture, and convenience. And when people start keto, they often keep the same pattern: 3 meals a day, maybe some snacks, even though their body doesn't need that much fuel anymore. Here's the problem: every time you eat, whether it's a full meal or just a bite, you stimulate insulin. Insulin is like a light switch. It either turns on or off, and when it's on, fat burning is off. So imagine you eat breakfast because you feel like you should, not because you're hungry. Insulin spikes, then a couple of hours later, you grab a keto snack because it's sitting in the kitchen, even though you didn't feel any real hunger. Insulin spikes again, then lunch, then maybe coffee with cream in the afternoon, then dinner, then a little nibble before bed. Each of those small decisions feels harmless, but what they're really doing is keeping insulin up all day long. And if insulin never drops low enough, your body never taps into fat burning the way it should. You see, your body was designed to run in cycles: times when you eat and times when you don't. Those times of not eating are not just breaks, they're where the magic happens. That's when insulin goes down, growth hormone goes up, cells start repairing themselves, and fat begins to be released and burned. But when you keep feeding your body without true hunger, you rob yourself of that window. It's like trying to let your phone recharge while you keep using it. You never give it the chance to fully power up. Now, some people confuse cravings with hunger. That's another big mistake. Cravings are driven by insulin fluctuations and brain chemistry. They're a signal of imbalance, not a signal of true fuel need. True hunger feels calm, steady, and clear. It doesn't make you irritable, it doesn't feel desperate, it doesn't demand a specific food. It's simply your body saying, it's time for fuel, but cravings are noisy. They make you want something sweet, crunchy, or salty. They make you restless. They drive you to the fridge even though you just ate an hour ago. And if you confuse cravings for hunger, you'll keep eating, thinking you're following your body, when in reality you're just responding to a chemical signal created by blood sugar and insulin swings. This is why one of the most powerful skills you can develop on keto is the ability to pause and ask yourself, am I truly hungry or am I just craving? Am I eating out of habit or is my body genuinely asking for fuel? That one question can change everything. Because when you start honoring true hunger, not false signals, your eating pattern naturally shifts. Suddenly, you may find that you don't need breakfast. You might feel perfectly satisfied with 2 meals a day. Some days, even 1 meal is enough. That's when you know your body has adapted to fat burning, when you can go for long stretches without food, and you feel stable, clear, and energetic the whole time. Think about how liberating that is. For years, maybe decades, you were a prisoner to food. You had to think about your next meal constantly. You couldn't go a few hours without getting shaky or irritable, and now, by learning to distinguish real hunger from habit, you're finally free. You don't need to eat because the clock says so. You don't need to eat because someone else is eating. You don't need to eat because you're bored, stressed, or emotional. You eat when your body genuinely needs it, and you stop when it doesn't. That's how you break the cycle. Now, let's go deeper into why eating without true hunger sabotages keto specifically. Remember, the whole goal of keto is to keep insulin low enough, long enough, so your body can switch from sugar burning to fat burning. If you're constantly eating even keto, approved foods, you're not giving insulin that break, and the body is incredibly sensitive. Insulin doesn't care whether the spike came from a donut or from a handful of keto nuts. It reacts the same way. Which means even a small unnecessary snack can stall fat burning for hours. Multiply that by several times a day and it's easy to see why weight loss stops, even though you think you're doing everything right. There's another side to this, and that's digestion. Every time you eat, your digestive system has to go to work. Your liver, pancreas, and gut all get activated. They secrete enzymes, bile, and acids to break down the food. If you're eating when you don't need fuel, you're forcing your digestive system to work overtime when it should be resting and repairing. Over time, this can create bloating, indigestion, and even inflammation. But when you only eat when you're truly hungry, your digestive system works more efficiently. Meals feel lighter, you digest better, and you feel more satisfied. And let's talk about habits, because this is where most people struggle. So much of our eating is psychological, not physical. Think about how often food is tied to emotions, celebrations, comfort, stress relief, boredom. You might find yourself opening the fridge not because your stomach is asking for food, but because you're stressed after a long day. Or maybe you snack while watching TV, not because you need energy, but because it's tied to relaxation. These patterns become ingrained over years, and they're hard to break. But here's the truth. Until you break them, you'll always feel like food controls you instead of the other way around. The solution is awareness. Every time you reach for food, pause, ask, why am I eating? Am I truly hungry, or is this just habit? Is my body asking for fuel, or is my mind asking for distraction? If you can pause long enough to recognize the difference, you'll gain back control. You don't have to give in to every impulse. And when you stop eating out of habit, your meals become more meaningful. Food starts to taste better, your body responds better, and fat loss accelerates naturally. Now, here's something fascinating. When you only eat when you're truly hungry, your body actually starts to self-regulate better. Hunger hormones like ghrelin and leptin begin to reset. Ghrelin, which signals hunger, stops firing off constantly. Leptin, which signals fullness, starts to work properly again. This means your appetite becomes more accurate. You stop overeating because your body tells you when enough is enough. You stop undereating because your body tells you when it needs fuel. And this harmony is what makes keto sustainable long-term. Eating without true hunger also ties directly into emotional health. So many people struggle with food as a coping mechanism. They eat when they're stressed, sad, or anxious. But food was never meant to be therapy. It was meant to be fuel. When you strip away emotional eating and stick to true hunger, you start to face your emotions directly. Instead of stuffing them down with food, you process them. And that not only helps your weight loss, it helps your mental clarity, confidence, and sense of control over your life. Imagine how different your life feels when food no longer has that power over you. You go out to dinner and you can sit in front of bread or dessert without feeling controlled by it. You can skip a meal without panicking. You can travel, work late, or go through a busy day without needing snacks every 2 hours. That's freedom, and that freedom comes from respecting the difference between habit and hunger. One more thing to consider. When you eat only when you're hungry, your meals become naturally more nutrient-dense. Why? Because when you're not eating constantly, you become more intentional about the meals you do have. You choose foods that fuel you, that satisfy you, that nourish your body. You're less likely to waste your meal on empty calories or keto junk. And when your body gets the right nutrients, it rewards you with more energy, better sleep, faster fat burning, and sharper focus. So this point isn't just about avoiding snacks or skipping unnecessary meals. It's about retraining your entire relationship with food. It's about listening to your body instead of the clock, about honoring real hunger instead of feeding emotions, about giving your body space to burn fat instead of keeping it stuck in storage mode. It's about learning that less is often more when it comes to eating, and that the most powerful tool you have in keto is not just what you eat, but when you don't. When you master this, everything changes. Weight loss becomes easier, cravings lose their grip, your energy becomes steady, and food takes its proper place as fuel, not as a constant presence in your life. And that shift is what allows keto to truly transform you, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. Another mistake that quietly blocks progress, and most people don't even think about it, is not paying attention to electrolytes and nutrients. Now, this one is fascinating because it's invisible. You don't see it, you don't taste it, you don't think about it, but it can completely change your keto journey. Let me explain. When you first start keto, you lower carbs, right? And what happens when carbs go down? Your glycogen stores in your muscles and liver start to empty. Glycogen is basically stored glucose, and for every gram of glycogen, your body holds onto about 3 grams of water. So, when glycogen drops, the water leaves too, and that's why, in the first week of keto, most people lose several pounds almost instantly. They get excited and think, wow, this is amazing, I'm losing weight fast. But what they don't realize is that with the water goes something else: electrolytes. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, gone with the water, and here's where the trouble begins. Because electrolytes are not just minerals floating around. They are the electrical system of your body. They control muscle function, nerve signals, hydration, energy levels, even how your heart beats. Without them, things start to fall apart. You feel tired, you feel weak, you get leg cramps, headaches, even brain fog. Some people call this the keto flu. But the truth is, it's not the diet that's the problem, it's the deficiency. Your body is trying to adapt, but it's missing the key nutrients that make the adaptation smooth. Now imagine you're trying to burn fat, but you're constantly feeling fatigued. Imagine you're trying to stay consistent, but you've got headaches, irritability, and muscle cramps. What's going to happen? You're going to crave, and not just any cravings, you're going to crave the very foods you're trying to avoid. Because when your potassium is low, your body screams for something salty, something starchy, something carb heavy. Not because you need sugar, but because your body is desperately trying to get minerals back in balance. This is why so many people fall off keto in the first few weeks. They think it's a lack of willpower, when in reality, it's a lack of nutrients. Their body isn't betraying them, it's signaling a deficiency. Think about it like this. If your car is low on oil, it's going to send you warning lights. You wouldn't ignore those lights and just push harder on the gas pedal. You'd add oil, the same with your body. Fatigue, cravings, muscle cramps, poor sleep, these are your warning lights. They're not signs you need carbs, they're signs you need electrolytes. And if you ignore them, the engine of fat burning slows down. Let's talk specifics. Sodium is the first one people lose on keto. And yet, most people have been conditioned to fear salt. They've been told salt is bad for their blood pressure, bad for their heart. But the reality is, when you're on keto, you actually need more salt, not less. Because insulin normally helps the body retain sodium. When insulin is low, which is the whole point of keto, you excrete sodium much faster. So unless you're adding salt back in, you end up depleted. And low sodium means fatigue, dizziness, and even heart palpitations. Just adding some high-quality salt, like sea salt or Himalayan salt, to your meals or even your water can make a huge difference in your energy and focus. Then there's potassium. Most people don't get anywhere near enough potassium even on a normal diet, and keto makes it even more critical. Potassium is essential for muscle contraction, for nerve transmission, for keeping your heart rhythm stable. Low potassium equals muscle cramps, weakness, irregular heartbeat, and constant cravings. Where do you get it? Leafy greens, spinach, kale, arugula, chard, avocados, even salmon. When people come to me and say, I can't stop snacking, I'm always craving. One of the first things I ask is, how many greens are you eating? And usually the answer is not much. The moment they increase their potassium-rich foods, cravings drop, hunger stabilizes, and suddenly sticking to keto becomes effortless. It's not magic, it's minerals. Now let's look at magnesium. This one is huge. Magnesium is involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in your body. It helps you sleep, it calms your nervous system, it regulates blood sugar, it helps with muscle relaxation. And guess what? Most people are deficient. Combine that with the water loss on keto, and magnesium depletion becomes a real problem. And when magnesium is low, you feel restless, anxious, your sleep suffers, you get tight muscles, and your energy crashes. Sound familiar? That's why adding magnesium through foods like nuts, seeds, dark leafy greens, or even supplements can make a dramatic difference. It doesn't just support fat loss, it supports your whole metabolism, and let's not forget calcium, chloride, trace minerals like zinc and selenium. All of them matter. But the big three, sodium, potassium, magnesium, are the foundation. Without them, keto feels like a struggle. With them, keto feels natural, because when electrolytes are balanced, your body has what it needs to switch over to fat burning without resistance. Now, let me connect this back to motivation, because this is where a lot of people get discouraged. You might think you're failing because you're hungry all the time, because your energy is low, because your workouts feel harder, because you're not losing weight as fast as you hoped. And you blame yourself. You think, I don't have enough willpower, maybe keto isn't for me, maybe I'm just destined to stay stuck. But the truth is, it's not about willpower at all. It's about chemistry. Your body is simply missing the raw materials it needs to make the process smooth. And once you correct those, everything feels different. You wake up with more energy, you can go longer without food. Cravings disappear, you feel calm, focused, in control. Suddenly, staying on keto isn't a battle, it's a natural rhythm. I want you to understand something powerful. Fat loss doesn't happen in isolation. It's not just about cutting carbs, it's about creating the right environment inside your body. And nutrients are that environment. If your body is starved of minerals, it will fight you every step of the way. If your body is nourished, it will work with you. And when your body works with you, results come faster, easier, and they last longer. So here's the reality: nutrient deficiencies are one of the biggest hidden reasons people fail on keto. They don't fail because keto doesn't work. They fail because they didn't give their body what it needed to make keto work. But the good news, this is completely fixable. You don't need perfection. You don't need complicated supplements or exotic powders. You just need to be intentional about your nutrition. Load your plate with leafy greens, add avocado. Sprinkle sea salt, drink water with electrolytes, choose whole nutrient-dense foods and watch what happens. When you do this, you're not just fixing a deficiency, you're upgrading your entire system. You'll notice your workouts improve because your muscles have what they need. You'll notice your sleep improves because your nervous system is calm. You'll notice your mood improves because magnesium stabilizes your brain chemistry. And when all of that happens, keto becomes sustainable. It's no longer a fight against your body, it's a partnership with your body. This is why I always say keto is not just about macros. People obsess over their carb count, their fat grams, their protein percentage. But they forget about micronutrients, and yet micronutrients are the foundation. Without them, the macros don't matter. With them, the macros become powerful. You can have the perfect carb to fat ratio, but if you're deficient in potassium, you'll still struggle. On the other hand, if you nourish your body fully, even small mistakes won't matter as much because your system has the strength to adapt and keep burning fat. So when you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling like keto is too hard, before you quit, before you doubt yourself, before you tell yourself it doesn't work, ask, am I giving my body the nutrients it needs? Because 9 times out of 10, that's the missing link. And once you fix it, everything else falls into place. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, it becomes clear keto isn't failing you. It's the little hidden mistakes that keep pulling you off track. It's the unnoticed carbs, the constant snacking, the lack of fasting, the excess protein, the stress you carry, the dairy you overdo, the meals you eat without hunger, the missing electrolytes, impatience for results, and the inconsistency that resets your progress. But the good news is this: every one of these is within your control. The moment you start correcting them, the moment you bring awareness and discipline to these details, your body responds. Because your body is not broken, it's designed to heal, to burn fat, and to thrive when you give it the right conditions. The real question is, are you willing to stay committed long enough with enough focus to let that transformation happen? If you are, keto won't just be another diet. It will be the turning point that unlocks the healthiest, most energized, most resilient version of yourself.